Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Monday, August 31st. So at the end of the month here, it seems like we're starting to finally kind of figure out how Shadowverse works. In the fact that the leaders that are available for purchase are about to disappear as far as the Code Geass crossover. So they really didn't focus on mentioning that, honestly, in the Steam version of the game. It's just there's a pop-up there. I don't even see where you can buy them. They must already be gone, which I guess maybe would make an argument to do this. And sure, why not? Let's just waste a bunch of gold and own all of these characters just for the fun of it. That's really the only one that's available. And I guess perhaps the Street Fighter deal and the Grand Blue Fantasy deal and these deals were ones that weren't limited time crossovers, where the other ones have been. So that pretty much puts an end to the Code Geass thing here. I imagine this art will change fairly quickly. The other thing I figured out, and we may just play this, is apparently the character stories are released separately. So whatever this episode is, as far as episode 9, Face Trigger, all I could do right now is go through Bunny and Baron's story, which is the Swordcraft characters, which means I wouldn't get the full story, even if I could beat the bosses, which I imagine each of the battles are fairly complicated and difficult, because these are supposed to be like top tier, you're an expert at Shadowverse challenges, and they just don't make that obvious. So you're just not going to have a good experience, although you might have a more staggered experience. And so I may do the battles, but skip the story, and then there will probably be an addendum video I put out at some point to actually look at the story. However, I am still stuck at trying to defeat Chapter 12 here in the previous episode. I just still have not really put a lot of time into it, but I did spend some time earlier today in trying to play that. I also, for the accountability section, might as well say I beat Shantae in the Pirate's Curse as a 3DS game. It was alright. It's not amazingly great or anything, but it was alright. And we are definitely and then I started to play a little bit of Battle Chef Brigade, which Battle Chef Brigade, I would complain somewhat, is balanced poorly between its dialogue and the actual gameplay. So in 2 over 1 hour and 20-minute episodes, I've not been able to play more than 5 or 6 5-minute puzzle sections. So there's just a lot of story there, and it's very badly written. It feels like it's someone who is trying to copy and be influenced by Japanese media without really understanding Japanese media. A great example of that is, since it was a Kickstarter game, I kind of feel like at some point somebody said, we want a cat cafe in this game, and instead of making a Japanese style cat cafe where there's a bunch of cute girls and maid cosplay or cat cosplay or cat maid cosplay with cats, and that they would be serving tea and like desserts there, instead they've made in Battle Chef Brigade a cafe where an old gray-haired man has just a bunch of cats running around the kitchen, which you'd never want to do that, and that seems to be what it is, and nothing more. Take note also, we are not getting the reward boxes, so I should have probably played that a little bit harder. And I tried over the weekend to play some of these and make sure I got everything done. Of course, I didn't make it to the final stage, but I'll get some small reward there also. So the real thing we need to do right now is we need to decide, open 6 using these tickets, what is the next pack we want to build up here. Alright, Forestcraft would be an idiotic choice. Swordcraft is a pretty idiotic choice too, so we've got to go Shadowcraft, and in all fairness, Shadowcraft is a pretty good move. Can shoot a Great Fox potential, and Sarcophagus Wraith. Let's do this. There is a point though where I'm not sure a Shadowcraft deck has any business in ranked play at all, or in any other kind of use. That being said, I guess it doesn't hurt to potentially just get cards, even if it is just going to end up turning into the vast majority of them getting turned into vials. In one way, for as little as I've been playing this game, I'm rolling cards, just a ton of them. In another way, the drop rate between the platinum cards are just way too low. That being said, I just got 2 platinum cards, and those are not the ones that I'm gonna miss, and some gold ones. Here we have a bunch of things. So now we gotta build a deck around this. Yep, getting 2 platinum legendary cards gave me that. So this was new from Fortune's Hand. This was new from Ultimate Coliseum. This was new from Verdant Conflict. And the Phantom card packs, some of those would be new if we get to keep them. And we get to keep them if we can win. I've also realized here that there's a strategy. There's a filter here, and then there's a filter here. So you can filter both your deck to compare with filtering your collection, which there might be an idea to that. So let's think about this. Transform into a random enemy follower into a skeleton for 9. If you play 2, at the end of your turn, destroy 2 random enemy followers and restore 5 defense to your leader. That sounds good. One-tailed foxes. What are one-tailed foxes? A 1/3 with rush and ward, and last words gives a +2 to this character for 9th turn. That seems like that's probably don't need this, if I was to guess, this Cloistered Sacristian. Yeah, it's kind of a shame so far, the experience that I'm having with Battle Chef Brigade. But the other thing I would also say is I am specifically trying to schedule videos, so I only started playing Battle Chef Brigade because I just couldn't bear to sit any longer and schedule videos. So that should still be my focus. Burial right to draw a card. Probably can't get rid of that. That's a fabled treasure. It's an amulet. It's a pretty good amulet. Should get rid of that because I'm probably not going to go that route. There's a decent amount of burial right cards, so there might be an idea around that. See if I get rid of this and this though, it gets rid of the great tree concept. Get rid of that, that just destroys random followers. This restores 2 defense. Gives another tree. Get rid of that. Okay. So let's then get rid of these 2. Alright, well, without agonizing over this, I think we'll stick with that deck and we'll see how that goes. The one thing I would say that's like the weirdest part about Shantae's and the Pirate Curse, for a teen plus game, there definitely is a character in the background, a blacksmith character that has some pixels on her chest that looks like she's straight up topless, and it's just, they never zoom in on it, so it's just like, oh, there's a pixel here, a pixel there, that could be a nipple, or that could just be some weird outfit. But I wouldn't put it past them either, because every single time they draw a character in that game, they put him in scantily clad outfit to show off as much skin as possible. At least they do that for most of the females. They don't do it so much for the males. And I will also say that the final battle in Shantae and the Pirate's Curse was a little bit of a frustrating experience. Just took a really long time. But going back and playing the first part, once I had forced it down to 59 frames per second, was actually incredibly easy. So I'm not sure if that's just because I have trained my fingers how to play the game, or if I actually fixed a issue with the game running too fast. I should also mention that my internet is... Oh, they're gonna beat me almost certainly with that flare. Let's see. Rush, Fanfare, Necromancy 4, summon it, repeat this until shadows are, or until your area is full. That is interesting. Let's go ahead and just trade out all of these. Yeah, my internet was having trouble earlier today. In fact, it was absolutely obvious what had gone on, because I got a text warning saying the power is out in my area, and the power was not out at my house, and then my internet went down, and I'm like, ah, yeah, so the power must be out near me enough to affect the local internet router. But it only lasted for a brief time. Original defense of 1. So transform an enemy into a skeleton. Okay. whole thing with the burial rites cards though is still such a mess that I don't understand. One of the things in Battle Iron Brigade, Battle Chef Brigade, yeah, that's the name of it. I'm gonna confuse the name because it's clearly, it's so much an Iron Chef ripoff. I wouldn't be surprised if they literally get sued. Oh. Let's see, deal 3 damage. Get rid of that.
Come, Mrs. Bitters. We have work to do.
There's a questionable pose that is drawn where the character bends over to pet a cat, and yet she's facing the opposite direction of the camera, so all you're seeing is her butt, but it's not like it's a shapely outfit she's wearing. She's fully clothed, so it's just like, hey, why did you put this character down camera? That doesn't really make sense.
It's so fun.
But they've used that pose at least twice now. Want to evolve? I think at this point it probably would be beneficial to evolve.
Big trouble now.
But yeah, that's about the only thing questionable as far as age appropriateness. But then there's also the backgrounds in Battleship Brigade are very soft colored penciled drawings. It's just a weird art style that does not stand well. And then sometimes some of the images seem to have weird color palette choices. Almost like there's two artists, because the characters are drawn very differently. So I don't know if there's a case there where there are two artists, or if perhaps there's some other trick going on. I'm just gonna take this and evolve this and hit that. Now, I would just continue repeating stupidity if I said there's not a lot of news, but it feels like that's the case. But clearly I don't have an understanding of what's what the right amount of news is that happened over the weekend, so I think the best bet we should do is I should probably power through all of this. Is summon 2 Necrofauna.
Mrs. Bittins, we have work to do.
And Necrofauna, they have Rush. And then they give the Nature Great Tree. If I knew that, I would have potentially continued down the path of playing Nature and Great Tree, which still is a very overemphasized card. But yeah, the smart move today would be to burn through all the news as quickly as possible in case the internet runs out, and just call it a day. I, as always, have something else, have more work to do. And so it would definitely make sense to get back to try and schedule more things. My insomnia and sleep schedule is also still very weird, and like I literally slept all of yesterday away.
Here's what the fox says.
Okay. What happened there? One, 2, 3. Crystallize this. Turn that into a skeleton. And then return. So we've got a game here on Steam called Speechless. It looks like it is a horror game. And it's a little too dark, and it looks like there's a lot of opportunity here for it to be an asset flip type game. So it's $2.69, discounted, English only. So we'll start with that, and we'll just burn through everything. Destroy a card. This evolves. So, what next? You can destroy a follower to draw a card. Or I can put this as a thing. Or I can play this and get rid of that. Actually, I can play this and it won't do the fanfare at all. So then that puts me in a nice position to do this. And we can't attack that one anyway, so we'll hit that one. And then we'll do that one. And then when this dies in 2 turns, it will transform in that one. Next, we have a game on Steam called Cyanoid Gaiden, which, yeah, I saw a speedrun for Ninja Gaiden, and I was trying to compare that in my mind to looking at Shinobi and the difference there. And Ninja Gaiden is the right way to pronounce that, is way better looking than what I experienced on Shinobi. Although, in all fairness, I think the Gauntlet games for the Mega Drive also were pretty bad versions of, compared to the arcade versions I've seen of Gauntlet. Regardless, this is $4.49, although there's a bundle. It's English only, and I don't see any reason why you'd spend that much. It seems very expensive. I saw a famous YouTuber bringing up the speculation, which can only be speculation really, that there's money laundering going on through the Steam Direct store, and honestly, you could probably make the same statement on any store. So I don't really think there's a big change there. What did this give you? Once per turn, when you play a follower with an original attack or defense of 1, give it Storm. Okay. So. And then what do we want to do here? So destroy that, which would then draw 1 card and restore 4 to the leader. Or we could do this. And this. The problem, I would say, it was Sid Alpha by the way. I'll just mention the name since he's a fairly famous YouTuber, although he is kind of, well, like so many other people, he's kind of just boiled down to being boring. This whole pandemic thing has made a lot of people really, really boring and repetitive. And maybe I've just changed and my desires for entertainment have changed. Oops, I was hoping that would transform. Destroy 6 other random followers. If the enemy leader has 7 defense or more, deal damage to them until the defenses drops below 6. Alright. This is like a poison apple. So. Draw 2 cards. At the end of your turn, destroy 6 other random followers. Then, if the enemy leader has 7 defense or more, deal damage to them until their defense drops to 6. Alright, well then, let's just end the turn. He's down to 6. So, 6 Miltu the levers. And the odds that the animation of the levers seems to be only one person. The Lucifer TV show that's not really based much on the comic book got a new season on Netflix, although I think it's fair to say it got a new half season on Netflix, and they were fairly deceptive. Draw a card and add X to the same as count. X equals half the original cost of the follower destroyed by burial right. Wind it down. Last words. Summon a copy of the follower destroyed by burial right. So I do this, and then do this, and burial right that. That's 2 turns. Then we can just hit that and clear the field. But I was looking at the Lucifer comic book, and it turns out a lot of the characters in the Lucifer comic book are based off of the tarot card also. Although I don't think the TV series has done anything off of that. Like, honestly, I don't think the TV series, which is really just a sci-fi procedural, for the most part, it has been, at least. I don't think that they've been following too closely any of the effects of the Sandman series or the Lucifer series, which would have been the spin-off continuation or sequel to Sandman. I would say the weirdest part about the new, what I'm going to call a half season of Lucifer on Netflix, is just the fact that they had 2 or 3 like high action scenes that they shot, and I just don't know why a director would have budgeted for that, because it really wasn't necessary. Like a person gets hit by a car, it would have been so easy to just have a screeching sound and have somebody get hit by a car without actually showing it, and then the camera pans over and shows the car already stopped and the person bloody on the ground. There was a fight sequence at the end of the new season that I think you would want to have, and I think pretty much all the fight sequences you would want to budget for, and there's some action in that, but there's also a lot of points where I think they just threw in action for no reason. Also, I would say a lot of the episodes seem to have been written just for comedic reasons, as if the 5th season would be the time to add in some joke episodes. That way, if these episodes were aired out of order, which would be a nightmare for that series, because every episode does continue an overarching season arc.
Father, come on.
So the only right way to watch season 5 is to watch all of season 5 in a row, which that doesn't work around that concept of having 2 or 3 joke episodes in a row. Like, it's not spoiling much to say one episode is sort of set in space as a joke. One episode is sort of set on a TV version of the show, so it's making fun of Hollywood. And those 2 episodes are like back to back. And that's something you would have seen in like season 12 of Supernatural. And in all fairness, Supernatural went on for, it has still gone on for way too long, and it's still going. Right. So this will summon something big. And so we gotta figure out the best way to pull this about. Moving on, as I'm kind of just rambling, there's also a Netflix series called High Score. I watched an episode and a half, and it seemed like it just kind of bounced around on too many different subjects, and wasn't a long enough, detailed enough documentary for my taste. This game is a bunch of Asian characters, and it's clearly either an asset flip Japanese horror game or a low effort Japanese horror game. English is not supported. It's $4.99. There's nothing here that looks quality. Can we do a burial rite? Profane resurrection. That summons a leech. Alright, let's do this one. That doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, and the only reason why I've even had time to watch a couple of things on Netflix is because I was scheduling things, and I gotta get better, more consistent, and more frequent on finding time to schedule videos. Or I've got to get the macro to actually work. Which that would be a solution also. This would continuously work. Guess this would work also. Well, this one destroys it and draws a card and restores 4 to your hero. That's not what we need to do. This one does that. This on this.
Come, Mrs. Pittins. We have work to do.
And then this will do burial rite. Somebody else. Deal 3 damage.
Mummies. No, I'm over budget.
And then the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Roast Party, which looks like it's a low effort game of insulting people, which I don't think we need right now, and it's not really a game that deserves to be able to be early access at $4.49. Yeah. I don't think I finished my thought there with Sid Alpha pushing the idea of there being money laundering, and that's the reason why Valve should curate its storefront. At a certain point, there is just a argument that I think should be made personally, and this is my own personal opinion, and I could totally be wrong about it and change my opinion on this. I feel like there's a level that can happen where Valve, Gabe Newell, can say, yes, we are going to embrace a small bit of curation, which also equals censorship. We're just going to admit that that's it. We're going to censor out games that we personally think are bad based on the criteria of them looking like they were made in MS Paint, based on the criteria that they are just terrible slide puzzles. And honestly, if you're the more open you're about it and the more consistent and just logical about it, and just you whack-a-mole, which nobody wants to play whack-a-mole with these people, but that's really what they need to do, is just say, we're gonna play whack-a-mole, and we're gonna get rid of slide puzzles, we're gonna get rid of games on the storefront that have inappropriate videos and screenshots that aren't censored, and at a certain point they may just straight up say, we're going to get rid of visual novels, and see what kind of pushback they get from that, instead of dipping their toe in it and acting secretly. Because in all honesty, of all the corporations that are controlling society, Valve is not really in too much control of anything but video games, and their censorship is nowhere as bad as the censorship that is being done in secret in the back rooms of so many other places. This is the card we want to play on 9th turn. Okay. 4, 8, 12. There we go. And do we want to do anything else? No. But yeah, if they came out with it and said, we're just going to curate based on our own opinions or based on sales, there also could be a very hardline numbers thing there, where they could say, you can be on Steam Direct, but after a year, if you don't have at least 2,000 units sold, your game will be delisted. That would let them delist a considerable amount of old bad games while still letting people post their garbage games on Steam. In fact, Valve could even double dip there and say, hey, you're going to be delisted if you don't get 2,000 sales, so maybe you'll think about relisting and giving us even more money. Let's see. Three damage and 3 damage to enemy follower. Alright. Okay. Then you hit it with that. Then you hit it with that. And then you hit it with that. And then let's just go ahead and just evolve up here. Next we have a game on Steam here called Move Code Lines, which looks like it might just be a this might be an attempt at a programming game, although at the end of the day this also kind of looks like just a very ugly compiler that has drag and drop functionality, which nobody has ever implemented drag and drop functionality in a compiler or code editor. As far as I know, there's never been one. Probably for a very good reason. And the fact that you probably don't want to be able to accidentally drag and drop something. Destroy 2 random enemies. Can we win here? This does 6. So if I hit this with that, and that with that, and then that with that,
You're a solid fighter.
I win. Yeah, I don't think I could buy into a puzzle game like this, although it is kind of an interesting idea. I'm always interested in programming games, but they often disappoint. I just found saw a new Python compiler that is much more of a interactive code editor and compiler, so it runs as you type the code basically, so you can see what it's doing. And learned even a new trick that Python can do where you call a function only when necessary if it repeats. So instead of just having something repeat infinite amount of times or several times ahead of what number of results might be needed, you instead have it kind of wait until it's asked. Forget the name of it though, but yeah, I don't know if I'm actually going to program anything in Python ever, but I would say that I still think Python is a very good language to think about for the first language to teach kids, compared to Scratch and the many skins and derivatives of Scratch, where that is drag and drop programming and it's just too childish, too easy. It's not realistic. See, this is kind of a great example of a card I wish Last Effects would work. Next we have a game on Steam called Legion's Crawl 2, which looks like it is probably kind of a dungeon crawler. Yeah, it doesn't look particularly interesting. It's $7.99. English, full audio, bunch of achievements. Bane. Can't be attacked. Necromancy. Interesting. So we'll do that. Gamatsu has an article here. Ubisoft's Immortals Phoenix Rising was rated in Taiwan. It's likely the new game, new name for Gods and Monsters, which looks like a MMO type looking game. Storybook adventure game is what it's being described as. Although, it's going to be really, really hard to justify playing the next Ubisoft game. And that's going to be quite a thing.
It's so fluffy.
Okay. The enemy has 2 less to form a defense. Perform Necromancy 3. Banish the follower before it could deal any damage.
Boing.
So we can do that and spend 3 shadows to do that. Which that probably wasn't really worth doing.
You're done for.
And
Out like a lamb. You're mean.
My
This
loyalty
evolve
is ironclad.
has it do a little bit more damage. Reanimate 5. Give a random allied Natrian Great Tree last words, summon an immortal elephant. So this will summon another one of these. Interesting. Meanwhile, I think evolving this
Boing.
and doing
You
that
wouldn't.
is probably the best move. Gamatsu has an article here. Mary Skelter finale delayed to November 5th in Japan, no longer October 8th. These are only getting pushed back a month or so, but I think at a certain point things are just going to get pushed back. Anyways, like movies are starting to try and be in theaters again in the United States, and I think people have just kind of
Found you.
decided to try regardless of how bad of an idea it is. Just try to release things and get back to as close to a normal life as possible. Let's see. Bane to this follower.
Detestable.
Kill that. And then this will be banished
Detestable.
anyways. So we can get rid of that. We can do that. Next we have a game on Steam here. VR Time Machine Traveling in History. Visit ancient Egypt, Babylon, and Greece in BC 400. That's the entire name, which this game definitely gets the award for the longest name I've ever seen on Steam. And it's looks like it's mostly just a low effort asset flip game. Maybe there's a slightly more effort in the sense that they're actually trying something here, but it still feels very much like it's an asset flip thing. It's $9.99, French full audio, which is don't see too many of those. Alright. Animate 5. Or summon 2 Necrofauna. I feel like we summon 2 Necrofauna.
We have work to do.
And then we do this.
My armor has been pierced.
And then this.
My armor has been pierced.
And then I play this, and I'll draw a card and summon the Immortal Elephant. Which is great. And then in the turn. Did I somehow luck out here and build a deck that can actually win? Or am I just finally awake well enough to be able to play? Like, I played a little bit of this over the weekend, but not a lot.
We won't give him an inch.
I'm kind of thinking that this whole week I need to focus just on scheduling videos and getting everything
Just try to
scheduled.
break me.
See if I can get the schedule all the way up to January or February as far as footage. I'm not sure if at any point I'm actually going to decide to have 3 things air on the same day, or if I'm just going to kind of leave it at maybe 2 things max. Every time I start trying to air 3 things, there is a kind of ridiculous element to that where it never gets done well. Destroy an enemy. There we go. And then
The cats demand it.
that.
Time to retreat.
And can't play that. But you know what? We'll just evolve that to this point.
Time to retreat.
This one has the Immortal Elephant element on it too. Now I don't even need to play this card. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Liege Dragon, which looks like it is an RPG game. And that's pretty much all I can say. I wouldn't say this is probably an RPG Maker or an RPG MX game. It just looks like a JRPG. $13.49, English and Japanese. It's not from a publisher or developer that I think is super well known. Let's see. Yeah, Kimco has several things they published, quite a few things they published on Steam, but not a single one of them are on my wish list. Alright. Gain 4 shadows, draw a card. Bane. So I could do this with this. What just happened there? How did I summon a soul box? I'm a little confused by that. Alright, let's do this.
I'm coming. Detestable.
And let's do that. Do this. Yeah, I'm confused as to what's going on.
Too strong.
I lost focus there. Clearly, I don't see what happened there. I should have won. That they did something to A, consistently wipe out my board when I had 2 or 3 options that seemed like they would win, and B, reduce my health a lot more than I thought it was reduced. Why does the mother's ribs, why are they broken? That's interesting. Twitch support once again had issues. Investigating a global third-party network outage which prevented some users from accessing the site. The issue has been resolved. Seems to be kind of a consistent issue that just constantly happens with Twitch. That is one of the things that's the weirdest part about playing Battleship Brigade, is the fact that I got that game, I'm fairly certain, for free as a Twitch Prime game. I'm fairly certain I got it for free as a Epic Store game. I'm not sure if really anybody really ever bought Battle Chef Brigade as a game, and then after spending like 2 hours in the game and barely playing only 20 minutes of gameplay, I could certainly see if the game wasn't free how a lot of people would have refunded it. And there's a whole story that's even weirder around who is the team that made Battle Chef Brigade, and that they are some of the employees that worked at a company called Wide Load that was bought and then eventually shut down by Disney when Disney decided that they had no interest in being in the video game industry. And then before that, some of the employees that formed Wide Load were people that worked on Halo, I guess with Bungie before Microsoft bought them. But I think they also worked on the Halo that was the Halo Wars game. That's what I think they worked on.
What's your alibi? Gotta clean up my shop.
So it's kind of a long, sad story of just bad choices. And Wide Load Software made about 3 games before they went out of business, and none of them were worth mentioning. And Trinket Software has only made Battle Chef Brigade, and that was a couple of years ago, so that there becomes a question really as far as whether it is even worth giving them attention, because there's a decent chance that there's just never going to be any other game from this developer.
This case tastes. What's your alibi?
See, I really so far don't have a clue as far as what you would do to try to make a sequel, if you would keep the gameplay mechanics the same and change the story, or would you keep the story the same and change the gameplay mechanics. And either one of those might be the right move. Let's see. Why did that not? Soul Box evolves when there's an amulet. So I have like 2 cards that look very similar. I think may even have the exact same art.
The cats demand it.
Want to play?
Open Broadcast Software has a release candidate that you can test now for version 26. They're going to add native virtual camera, currently Windows only. One of the most popular OBS programs in recent days has been OBS Virtual Camera plugin by Cat Xfish. Because of the increased demand, we've created our own version of this plugin, included natively in OBS, with a button on the main interface to start and stop it. What is a virtual camera? Is the question I have to ask there, because I'm not 100% sure what they mean by that.
The cats demand it.
Attack that. Then let's play that. Then let's end the turn. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean by virtual camera. Other than because there have already been sources to play still images and video. So unless a virtual camera somehow lets you show a desktop instead of just doing a desktop or window capture, Hmm. Let's see. Can't be targeted by enemy effects. Do this. Do this. Should have attacked first.
You've got to be kidding me.
Do this.
I'm coming for detestable.
Get rid of that. Evolve.
I'll show you.
Now that's what I call soul food. Needs a little something.
Evacuate underground.
The next thing that they'll be adding is we've added a handy new toolbar below the preview to expose many common functions. Media controls. You're now able to have media control buttons available to control playback and positions in media sources, VLC sources, and slideshows, which that certainly is helpful to not need potentially two screens, one with a slideshow going on, and then you pressing forward on the buttons. This would not do enough to destroy anything. I could evolve this, but I don't have an evolve. Okay, best thing I can do is this.
Backup dancers. I'm coming for you. Detestable.
2,
Detestable.
4,
Detestable.
6. That was the best I could do. There now will be a hotkey to take screenshots. There will now be a new noise suppression method called RNN Noise, which is an open source AI powered noise remover filter. I saw there was an NVIDIA idea like this that was shown out, and some more things. So doesn't seem like that's reinventing the wheel or anything, but it definitely does seem like it's something to potentially be interested in. Alright. 2. And that. Okay. If I end the turn here, I might win. But as a YouTube streamer, a new version of OBS might be interesting, although it also does let you potentially have a nightmare for a week or two when you realize that the new version of OBS, even when it's out of its beta, still somehow has a bug that causes something crazy to happen, which that definitely has happened before. 8 to an enemy follower. Is summon 2 ghosts at the end of your turn. And you can play Bane. You can bail or write a character to do 3 damage.
Mummies should not.
You can do this. I literally can't do anything else. TechRaptor has an article here. Blacksmith Bay lets you smith swords and sell wares. Which this is probably just an advertisement for yet another game where you play as a blacksmith. Like, this concept sounded interesting to play as a blacksmith and do a little dungeon crawling. Like the first time it was suggested, and I don't think any game has really done it great justice. And you know, I'm not gonna get those Phantom cards. I thought I was gonna be on a winning streak, but yeah, they just kind of immediately flooded the market with that concept. And honestly, I think my own personal infatuation with forging, what happens in watching Forged in Fire, the TV show, has come and gone. Like, on occasion now, for the past 3 or 4 months, I've thought about watching an episode, but I really haven't done it. Like, it ran out of steam, which happens certainly in the long-running series where there's potentially hundreds of episodes that are very repetitive and similar and just formulaic. Next we have a game on Steam here called The Divine Invasion, which looks like it's angel statues asset flipped into a hack and slash game. The idea of angels invading a world is a somewhat interesting idea, but apparently that might be part of the theme of the new World of Warcraft expansion even. But yeah, Darksiders is about the only one that even started to slightly do anything interesting with it, and even in that case I don't think. Summon a copy, not reanimate. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think that there's a great idea there. Like, you would probably want to do a subversion of expectations a lot if you were going to have, like, Earth invaded by angels or divine forces of any kind, and you'd probably want to say, oh well, we're escaping the horrible plague in heaven, or something that you would just be like unimaginable, that some evil attacked them and that they're fleeing for their lives and bringing the danger to humans. That would be about the only thing I could think of doing, because in almost every other scenario, angels coming to Earth are either coming to fight demons or in the world bring people to heaven, whether they want to go or not, type experiences. Guess since I didn't read this article, the only thing I could say here is a generic response. There's a article here that I guess you could Google. It's iondesign.aiga.org. Roberta Williams is the world's first graphic computer game designer, but she's famous for all the wrong reasons. Video game history doesn't know how to make sense of her except to single her out, which honestly, just by that title, it does kind of make it seem like the general idea is to say, oh, people are singling her out for accomplishments and thus that they're sexist for highlighting her accomplishments and instead of putting her on the exact same pedestal as every other secretary and female employee who worked in advertising or HR or any other field, or the second person, second female. Or I mean, it might be more of an egalitarian argument to say that she shouldn't be singled out anymore just because she was the first, which is kind of just a pedantic argument at a certain point that nobody wants to hear. Go ahead and evolve this.
Want to play? Detestable. Even should I fall. Detestable.
Do I want to play this? But yeah, I don't know if I'm not saying anything here really too much. If this is the person I think it is, she's like the wife of the husband that programmed a King's Quest game. I think it's a King's Quest game. And or was it Zork? I don't know. Seems like it might be been Zork. And so she drew the pictures and he programmed it. So they kind of work together. Yeah. Which I don't think there's anything really wrong with that. Did she work on Leisure Suit Larry in Phantasmagoria? Yep. There is a kind of underlying problem that needs to be addressed in the fact that there's kind of a lack of remembrance of a lot of the 70s and older game developers. This article is an actual article. It goes on for quite a while. I'm never gonna have time to read it, unfortunately, so I'm gonna just leave it to other people to read if they want to read, and use it as a springboard for discussion. Yeah, there's definitely way too many people who don't know about the first generation, or I think even really the second generation of video game consoles and developers, and they think that video games came out of nowhere when Donkey Kong was created and the NES came out. I wouldn't even be surprised if there are a decent amount of people that think video games just came out with the console that they grew up with. Although it would be kind of hard to believe that like the Nintendo 64 was the first video game console ever made, because there was just kind of this constant through line of things that precede other things. But even the only real gap, I guess, would be between the NES and things like the Atari and the Commodore 64. But yeah, if you asked a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old what came out before the Switch, they probably wouldn't be able to really tell you. I think we might be able to perform a miracle here and get a second victory. Not that that matters. TechRept has an article, Blazing Sails Pirate Battle Royale embarks in early September. Another advertisement, basically. And pirate game, no less. That's not gonna work. Speaking of potentially not working, I think I just lost. We can't pull a trick out of the hat. Right. Necrofauna. Kill that, first of all. That's obvious. Kill that. Don't need to play that. We could play 2 immortal elephants. And then we can attack here. So here we have Twitter Gaming doing something very unwise here, retweeting Emily Foy, who seems to just be a cam girl by the look of her thing. 583 followers. No, 3,181 followers, following 583 people. She tweeted out, "Spoiler alert, female streamers aren't streaming to date you." And then like a sneezing face, which I don't know if that's supposed to be a crying face, and she just doesn't know that. Nothing wrong with some small-time person, small-time streamer. Let's just assume she is a game streamer for the sake of argument and nothing more. And let's say she's not really cam girl, although her image does seem to show a lot of cleavage, but whatever. Like, big-breasted women shouldn't have to bend over backwards to cover up their cleavage. If I was a big-breasted woman, I'd probably flaunt it and air it out as much as possible. But it's just not really on the professional side, and it's a dangerous level of potentially going woke or going way too woke for Twitter Gaming. And it does just open themselves up to be in a conversation they don't need to be in. And it also, as Twitter Gaming is probably has some kind of stated goal or charter to try to promote gaming in general, video game gaming. I don't see how them like retweeting and promoting a even lightly controversial hot take does anything for that. Twitter Gaming should be 100% good news all the time, and it just seems like a bad move. Some of their other tweets are definitely maybe they've got a new guy, like when the gaming chair is more expensive than the rig. Definitely trying to be cool with the kids, which I don't think that's gonna work well. Alright, well, this would summon an immortal elephant. This would deal 3 damage to a random enemy follower. This would transform. We need to do this. We need to do this. Then in the turn. This is a long drawn out game. Tech Raptor has an article here. Sam and Max, this time it's virtual. Get some early details. Which, okay. I think I heard that the company that's making this Sam and Max game is not really known for making any other VR games worth mentioning. They made like a cat petting video game, but from what I had heard. Speaking of hearing things, Giant Beastcast did not have Abby in it. So this week, I don't know if she had the week off or if she's just secretly left the company, although it's too early to speculate. With all kinds of wildfires happening in California and New York, things, and internet going down a lot and storms happening, it would be very, very easy to just not be able to make it to the show. They damage randomly. Right. We do this. And then we do this. 50% shot in the turn. So this was a shocking listing on Steam, and I'm not sure I believe this. It is Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? This is a 2020 game. So either they snuck out and made a Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego game by Encore, which I don't know if Encore is a new publisher or what. This does not look like the original couple Where in the World Carmen Sandiego games. And it seems like in this release it's combining geography, history, and world culture, which I guess is the first game. There's a danger here that every screenshot does seem to be a very stationary image. So is this somebody doing something really, really shady? Or is this something else? Like, I feel like I played this card game a long, long time ago also, but I thought it was called Hoyle's Card Games back then. So, is there now a new publisher that is publishing old games? Well, this is also tagged the Learning Company. So I'm going to put this on the follow list when I'm logged in. It's $9.99, English full audio. But I kind of also question if this is some new take on it, or if this was like a remake of the game, those games a long time ago, and I just never caught it. I feel like I would have known, because like I feel fairly was certain I did know like all the rare in the world. That was bad.
Freedom is but a sweet poison.
You're too strong.
Yeah. But even at that, assuming everything is on the up and up, and that is a legitimate use, and so they actually figured out the licensing rights and decided to do something with Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, which kind of makes sense. They did get the Netflix anime series, although they changed a lot there. So I got one reward. What will we get? We'll get 105 gold. Why 105, I wonder? Just so you have that extra 5 gold now. It will always be extra 5 gold. Yeah. Even if they were going to make a new game, they really should step up the quality, because there is going to be a high demand through nostalgia for that. We'll liquefy all of our extra cards. And that was 32. And we had opened 6 packs of 8. Which 5 times 8 would have been 40. So 48 32 out of 48. We got 16 new cards by doing it that way. And that's a decent thought. Meanwhile, let's open another pack. We could open 10 packs. And at a certain point, I may have to just decide to open like 300 packs to get to this 400 number, because I need to kind of see it for myself and understand how the tradables really work. And honestly, by the time I open 4 packs, it may not. I guess maybe I didn't have a copy of that. Yeah, I may have all the tradables before 400 packs, which then at a certain point, I don't know what the trade element does or matters. Let's see. So with that, how many of those cards were redundant? All but one. Still wish this interface was a little bit faster and a little bit easier to navigate. A Fortune Unlimited Cup must be, well, it's happening right now, so we're probably going into something different after this. And emblem wise, what are the new emblems we got? We got this one, Gensetsu Great Fox, and Miltio the Lovers. Yeah, a little different there, going from Japanese to what I imagine is Latin. We also have this guy that we bought, 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 and this guy that we bought, and this one, and this one. And flares. Where are we on the flare section? Really not a lot. We could go Proving Myself. That's about the best flare to put us. And then we are D0 as far as ranked, and C2 as far as unlimited. Probably wouldn't have been a terrible idea to try and build a ranked deck. We have 75 wins on Forestcraft with 14 wins on Bloodcraft and 10 wins on Havencraft, so we're still doing something. Shadowcraft was the lowest card, so we did make the right decision there. But instead of playing just a little bit of ranked here, I want to just jump in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this, and then I'm going to skip the story and try not to spoil anything. Disable the voice, and then get to the skip part, and then skip here, and just clear things there. Disable the voice from that was just a prologue section. I'm gonna skip things here. I can pretty much tell, even though I'm trying not to look, that the vast majority of this seems to just continue the story from Invasion of the World Reaver, which is interesting. And they still have a problem with their story in the fact that I've now gone like 4 story sections and not had to fight at all. And I don't get what's going on here. Like 5 chapter stories? And I'm just saying disable voice. Yeah. And so here we have all new decks for all new character. Well, a new skin on the character. Well, actually, I think these probably are the same decks, but maybe not. It's a little weird to get different recommendations in later parts of the story. And here we have a whole new card background, which it's a little weird that they spend the time making new card backgrounds, 3D animation backgrounds, but you know, they probably don't spend. I wouldn't be surprised if they asset flip the 3D environments, and I wouldn't be upset if they did. We have a game here on Steam called Greyhound, a digital detective agency, which just looks like a bunch of asset flip stuff. It looks really bad. $10.19, English only. Looks like a low effort game. Alright, we'll meet the 11 sisters. And then we'll play that. According to Ubisoft support, transitioning PS4 titles to next generation versions seems to indicate backwards compatibility will be available for PS4 titles, but will not be possible for PS3, PS2, or PlayStation games. Which, yeah, that all makes sense. That does certainly make sense.
Glory to the Sky Knights.
So yeah, a little bit more confirmation on things we almost certainly already knew. Next, we have a game on Steam just generically titled Anime World. Although I'll say the heads-up display doesn't look absolutely awful. It clearly is a asset flip game trying to be a Dragon Quest clone. But if they had put any effort into the actual game development, they would have put some effort in the name. It's 64 cents, so you also know it's way too expensive. It claims to have full audio for every language they care about, which is English, Chinese, Russian, and Japanese, which puts it straight up as one of either a low effort Chinese game or a low effort Japanese Russian game in my book. It could be a low effort Japanese game or English game too, but I doubt it. Deal 3 damage. Is this 11 card? Yes, that would work. What are we trying to do here? Game Switcher has an article here. We may have even talked about this. Sweden's MAG Entertainment acquires mobile trivia developer Svin Entertainment. Yeah, I think we already talked about that. Let's go ahead and... Do we want to play this?
No subject of mine will be forsaken.
Once per turn, when an effect restores play points, put King Midas into your hand. This effect does not it's King's Might in your hand. So, alright.
I've got your scent.
As master wishes.
I wanted to mention that the Halo Infinite and Monster Energy drink are working with each other to advertise Halo Infinite. They've done that for several versions of Halo. Right, let's do this.
Lovely day for a fight.
And then I'm gonna evolve this.
The forest, illuminated by my blade. I am the guiding light. Know the fury of the forest.
Open Critic has an article here. Remedy is strongly teasing an Alan Wake 2 in the new Control DLC. I don't think there's any real reason to be guaranteed that there is going to be an Alan Wake 2 though. I think they definitely want to make an Alan Wake 2. I just don't think that they're funded and in a good place to do that. Let's see, we could do Quick Blader, which he's not a bad move. And then that leaves us with not a lot of options.
Is that the best you can do?
Too slow.
Come get some. Come get some. Come get some.
Let's put a Princess Strike in our hand.
Now behold true virtue.
I'm playing a little slow here, trying to make sure I win. Also, I'm playing against an AI, so there's not any timer issue. We have a game here on Steam called Alias, which is tagged as a text-based game. I guess it is. It's also tagged as abstract and word game with multiplayer. And it's just this one screen with text that pops up above it. It's early access for $5.09, which is too expensive. It's English and Russian. I think half of the reason why people think there's money laundering is the fact that so many of these low effort games are Russian.
I'm waiting to get up close and personal, darling.
But if you really are going to take that perspective, then you need to also blame all the Portuguese Brazil games of money laundering and all the Spanish games of the same thing,
Don't be so cold.
which maybe you could easily make that argument.
Come get some.
These characters in the story mode here that I'm playing are also speaking in Japanese, or at least some of them are, so now might not even be the right time to try and get all of this done. Then you have to skip again to avoid the story. And then I'll just make an addendum video at some point that, well, I'll just go through all the story and criticize the story. They're still playing the same old background audio and putting it, I guess, to good use. I do feel like Shadowverse heavily overinvested in audio and story writing, and they clearly want to tell a tale, and either that's that their anime TV series got canceled, or they just don't have the ability to tell the stories they want to tell in the anime series, because it's just more like a Yu-Gi-Oh series designed to promote the game and only the game. Interesting. Several Western things. Now we haven't seen a lot of Western characters, so there is a possibility the next expansion could have a whole bunch of Western characters. And this is definitely a Bonnie and Clyde type idea, although Bonnie and Clyde weren't even in the Western, in the West. They were, I think, closer to the Great Depression era. So they're kind of mixing and matching a couple of Western historic concepts. And half of the historic stories in the United States, I wonder if they weren't just completely made up stories by the newspapers to sell papers and just lies. You just kind of can never know. All it would really take is somebody to not get caught and stick to their story.
To arms, brother. At your service. Jukuko seal.
So this is my end.
Let's move on. One strongest follower in play. Repeat that. Go ahead and play that.
No one gets past me.
Do that. Check Raptor has a review here for Ginny Leclue Detective Vu. Let's see. Seems like it's probably a puzzle, a mystery game, like an attempt to make like a modern Nancy Drew type game. They gave it a 7.0. Ginny Leclue Detective Vu. Won't trouble even detective novices, but it's a sweet-natured world and strong writing. See it through. Prose, a well-written story and characters. Beautiful cartoon world. Some minor eureka moments. The cons are a lack of challenge. It can feel too safe, and it's just overly linear.
Emergency mode activated.
Tripper Skipper. Well, let's see. It's available on Steam, on top of being available for Switch. We can see it's rated very positively on Steam also. $19.99 might be a little expensive, and this definitely is a game I'd want to get on discount. Speaking of buying games, I'm not sure how much. I mean, I could pretty much have said this at any point, but this year, but I'm not sure how much I'm gonna spend in the next big Steam sale, because if I'm gonna buy a new computer, and fingers crossed that's not gonna be a huge mistake and take a lot of time to just set up a computer to have all my software and everything installed, but also my computer, it's not quite that old, so it's not like I'm moving from a 10-year-old clunker to something that would be super powerful, new, like.
Look upon the ultimate in swordsmanship.
Never cease striving.
See, if I attack here and then I evolve, that should give him ambush again.
This is the consummation of ninjutsu.
Nope. Well, that was pointless. Yeah, I can repair something, but I don't have anything to repair. Yeah, you definitely don't want to invest in a new computer and then find out you make a mistake. The idea of making an AMD gaming computer is certainly something in that is concerning.
Look upon the ultimate in swordsmanship.
Right.
mistake me for a simple
Can you
maid.
dodge this?
Sheena, Maid of the Mists. She puts a Zord Duke of Mists in your hand. Interesting. Next, we have a game on Steam called Verdungo, which does look like an RPG Maker game.
My duty ends
Although
here.
maybe there's a little bit more effort in some of the character designs. Over here, it still looks like an RPG Maker. $13.49 English. Yeah, nothing there. Haven't seen any adult games in a while, so we'll need to once again just focus on that and see if anything comes out this week. Otherwise, I don't know. Like every time I say that, it is usually a week or two, and then a week and a half. It's never really been 2 weeks before I start seeing an adult game released again. So I don't even know what I'd say other than to just take it as the very possibility that then they've decided to say no adult games. And I feel like once again Valve would be more open and honest about it, just because there'd be so much complaining otherwise. That alleyway looked a lot like the alleyway in a previous chapter, and I'm still not sure if like this whole world, I'm not sure if this whole world isn't the same world as the world that they visited twice before, because this certainly does look a lot like the robot world, and the robot world itself kind of looked like the plant world with the giant great tree. So I'm not sure if all the lands aren't actually just different time locations, and that's supposed to be the big reveal, but it seems like that would be a fairly obvious big reveal, and you could also just blame it on the fact that they're just reusing art in a lot of places. It's a little violent to have guns getting shot the whole time for a fantasy game with swords and bows and arrows, but yeah, I guess they're trying something different. Gamatsu has an article here. Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 World of Crime trailer and developer overview is available, so details, which this is coming out for everything in 2021. The real thing I want to know though is who's the developer. Frogwares, which yeah, Frogwares is the company that was seemingly always the owner of the Sherlock Holmes games and the license, I guess, or Sherlock Holmes is pretty much all open public domain, so there's really nothing stopping someone from making another Sherlock Holmes game, although I don't know if the name Sherlock Holmes really sells enough to do that when you could just make a game and call it Jenny LeClue or something else. Right. Total play points plus 4 plus 1.
Mercy becometh justice.
No one gets past me. This is our way out. Too slow.
TechRaptor has an article here. The Herb, a classical MMORPG, has been announced. And I assume classical does not mean classical music. I think they mean a classic MMORPG, which I'm still not sure what that really means, because what's the difference between an MMORPG from the past and what's usually available? 3 damage and 3 enemy leader, or evolve for 0.
By my flame! By my frost!
And
Be gone.
go ahead, just get rid of that guy.
Oh, the engine's
No one gets
busted!
Do
that
that.
paid.
This is
Then
our
do
way
that.
out.
Then return. Gamatsu has an article. Higurashi When They Cry May launches September 3rd in Japan. A mobile RPG game, and you can definitely tell it's a mobile RPG game. The Magical Madoka mobile RPG that went global and had a Western version about a year ago is now shutting down the global version, so clearly they weren't making enough money. I think there probably is a lot of suckers in Japan that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on gacha style games and things like that on their cell phones, and that is probably sustaining a major amount of the people and the companies that create these gacha games.
There are none! Burn!
They
Gone.
also had like a closing ceremony for the second Sega arcade in Akihabara or wherever it was that is closing down because, well, they just can't make money, particularly in the pandemic.
It's the small things in life.
It's Sega's 60th anniversary, so they're really in the worst position to shut things down. Although it does give them a bit of it gives them a bit of coverage to say, well, we managed to keep ourselves in business for 60 years, or Sega's not going out of business in general, I don't think, but it does not definitely look good that they're shutting down their arcades that they're well known for and that were making them a lot of money at one point. Yep. And I guess if they continue to give us story modes like this, you will get small bonuses in gold. That bad guy looked a lot like Aizen from Bleach. I imagine he's not supposed to be Aizen. He's probably just supposed to be a somewhat smart looking bad guy. Okay. So where that leaves you, that was actually fairly easy. First time trying. It leaves you with this section, which is probably not the last section because I think they almost always start on at least chapter 12. So either they shortchange just a chapter, or there will be a story wrap up in the last at the end, but they're not gonna let you see that until all 4 of the characters are out and have been released, which, yeah, that's a weird experience, certainly, to potentially starting with Gears of Rebellion. They very well may have just released Isabel's story, and then her story, then his story, then his story, and that may have been over the course of like one new leader's story a month, or one new leader's story a week, or maybe even longer. With the daily quests, I will be able to get, I think, most of this done in a week or two. and then I will just continuously be stuck at this boss battle, which I'm still having a lot of trouble with. And after I get all the daily quests done, it will be well past time to get rid of this stuff. I need 2 more victories with Swordcraft and Runecraft, and we'll just gonna play a little bit of Unlimited, and we'll just go back to Forestcraft. At one point I was playing on my phone instead of playing on the computer, and I did need to use the simple background in that case. I found that the smarter move. Moving on, we should just wrap up. We have about 10 more articles. Scourgebringer for Xbox One, Switch, and PC launches October 21st, so I guess this game's not getting delayed. We will certainly start to see, I guess, a few things not getting delayed now, but I still think that there's a high chance of things just at the last second getting delayed. Yeah. There's a weird fact here of that nobody really has like the full authority to just delay all video games. The closest would be if Microsoft and Sony got together and said they would delaying their consoles. Speaking of consoles, apparently there's a almost ridiculous Chinese social credit score system that has been implemented to suggest that you might want to pre-order a PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. Which one is it now? 4 or 5? So you have to sign up and basically commit to purchasing a game, the game console for the PlayStation 4, without knowing the price. They will then evaluate you somehow and see how good of a customer you've been in the past, and then they will pick a handful of their favorite people and let them then pre-order the game. So apparently the supply is going to be so incredibly limited, and it really feels like what they're thinking here is that they're going to just give these the first run of all PlayStation 4s to the biggest of the biggest influencers and fanboys and girls out there for the Sony PlayStation, to build up hype and try to maximize the good things said around it, so whenever they do get around to actually making enough that the average person could buy one, there will be just a rabid desire for that. Well, but I'm not sure that logic makes a lot of sense. It might be an interesting counter attempt to just having yeah. It's kind of like an insane attempt, as I'm thinking about it, to just have out of stock seem like a good thing, and where out of stock would just be the more honest way of saying, hey, we have very limited supplies. The only other instance I can even think in comparison would be the Wii and the rabid amount of desire for that, and clearly the Wii released before Black Friday, and it was running out of stock, so people were lining up trying to get the Wii because they already knew that it was in short supply, So maybe that's what they're trying to have happen here, but nobody is going to be lining up for anything
Let's play.
this year. So
Let's play.
not sure. I'm not sure they're following a real logical pattern there, or if they're just being really crazy. But see, then that's, well, that is a good question. Is this the Sony of Japan putting a mandate down, or is this Sony of California who's now in charge? Is it SJW Sony saying we're gonna pick our favorite SJW friends, or is this Sony of Japan saying you're gonna have to do the Japanese thing of being very extremely careful? There was an article I see here, Paper Mario developer uncertain if the series will deviate more from the RPG genre. That's pretty much because, yeah, they just have to do whatever Nintendo tells them, and that's pretty much it. So if Nintendo says deviate more from the RPG genre, they will deviate. If they say don't deviate, they won't deviate. And the Paper Mario series is definitely not the highest priority for Nintendo. Apparently also Activision is reportedly suing popular Call of Duty cheat website, which would totally make sense. I'm going through my other news sources on my phone, which there must be a certain level of distraction going on here that I'm not even focusing on looking at the articles here. Well, maybe not. I knew that there were some articles I wanted to mention. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Combat Mission Shock Force 2. This looks like an asset flip game. Yep, asset flip first person military shooter for $41.99. Whole bunch of languages. I think there is a point to also make in kind of response to Sid Alpha's example. He was showing off a game that was marked like $200. I've seen a few games that are marked at $1,000. Some of those definitely do feel like something fishy is going on. But there are also just psychopaths in general. Like there are just crazy people that think they can sell their game like these low effort asset flip games for $41.99. And that's not even really a argument for curation and censorship as much as it is just an argument for price recommending. And then I would say the United States is in a weird position where you can recommend, have a suggested retail price, but you can't force anybody to really sell at a specific price or above a specific price. As far as I know, I don't think there probably are some sleazy software companies out there that have said, yeah, you can't go below a certain price or we won't do business with you. I think Apple and their repair parts have said things like that, and that's probably monopolistic and illegal. But the vast majority of retail objects for sale could be marked down if you wanted to mark it down. Although there's apparently some arguments that if you want something to sell, you should mark it up a lot of times. Okay. Can I do this?
Fear and despair are no match for me.
Let's evolve this
You're done for.
and hope this isn't a mistake.
The light of courage shine forth. You can count on me, Leisha.
Her name is Leisha. Lecia. This is a card I think that previously was only in Japanese. We have a game on Steam here, PBA Basketball Slam Arcade Edition. I don't know what PBA stands for though. Professional Basketball Association?
You're not strong enough.
It's early access, it's $3.74, it's English only. This looks like this might be something that's good, but I don't know what PBA is. Like, in the United States, the basketball is national. It's the NBA, the National Basketball Association. I don't even know what you would call the college level basketball, whatever that is. It's probably something simple like CBA.
This city is my veil.
Well, I'll put that on the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called Memory Battle, which looks like it's a memory game, just flipping over cards. Although it seems like maybe you're flipping over cards in turns against an AI, which, well, that might spice some things up a little bit and keep the game flowing forward, so it's kind of a genius move. It's still memory. You can see there are different sizes of the boards. It says $2.69, but then there's a whole bunch of DLC that would bump that up to $4 more. Not a terrible thought.
I'm waiting to get up close and personal, darling.
It all ends here.
I have your heart in my
Let's keep
sights.
on going. I already talked about that. We have a game on Steam here called Wardle 2, which looks like it's probably just a Boggle clone. You don't see a lot of Boggle clones on Steam, in all fairness. But I don't know if there's really a game here. And, well, $1.19 might be the right price for something like this. English, allegedly full audio. I doubt that it actually speaks or says anything. It's probably not the worst single screen puzzle game that's available on Steam. It's just not something I think I agree with. And I would say more, the smarter move would be for people to put that kind of game as a mini game or a hacking mini game in a bigger experience. Speaking of modifying games, still watching MXR, the Skyrim mod and sometimes Fallout mod YouTuber, and he pointed out an interesting mod that turned Lydia, I believe her name is, the first companion you have in Skyrim, the house crawl or whatever she is, and like gives her an actual personality and makes her an actually interesting person with actual conversations and interactions. And it's like, wow, that's really the first one Skyrim mod I've seen that actually feels like it would potentially change the experience somewhat, except for all the adult Skyrim mods, which I don't recognize this character.
My blossoms will
Yet
reflect
another
the
character
air.
I don't recognize. There's just so many of them.
Our story awaits.
Next we have a game on Steam called Hellpunk Horror, which looks to me like it is just a low polygon hack and slash first person game. It's coming soon in English only. Spell boost this. That. And get rid of that. I made an adjustment to one of my decks. It may have been this Runecraft deck, but yeah, it was a minor adjustment, and I think I'm gonna have to continue to make minor adjustments here and there on the decks until they can start to succeed more consistently. Let's see, we have a game here on Steam called Radical Relocation, which seems like it is a joke game where you're moving a house. There might be something here. $8.99, English full audio. There might be something to that idea, although maybe not. It could also just be a physics sim style game.
Stars power. Sparkly stars.
So this puts a random card in your hand.
Sparkle, sparkle. Ooh.
Spell boosts the cards in your hand. Alright. Gamma Sutra has an article here. New PlayStation exclusives and first party studios key in Sony's PlayStation strategy. So they seem to be doubling down, or they've said that they were going to double down on first party studios and exclusives, and I don't think there should be any surprise there.
Fighting on.
I don't think there's a real need to read any further from that. Gamma Sutra has an article. Planet Zoo developer Frontier has a new publishing label called Frontier Foundry. I think we may have already talked about that also, but okay. Next we have a game on Steam here called Perfect Murder, which looks like it's a visual novel game. It very well may not be that well written or animated. It's coming soon. It's English, Russian, and French. We're once again getting promotions for things that are not out yet. And at some point I may need to just go and curate the games before I look at them for the stream, but that would just be a waste of time. So it's not something I would want to do. It's be a waste of too much effort. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam here called Sky Seeker, which looks like it's an asset flip, like arena boss battle, boss rush game. It seems very much like it was something designed for a cell phone. English is not supported. It's free to play, Japanese only.
That suits you.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, it doesn't support English, so I don't have to say anything else, but it doesn't look particularly good either. Let's see, Snowman. This. In turn. Next we have a game on Steam here called Stone Rage, which is already mixed. Looks like it's an asset flip survival game. Maybe I should drop the asset part and just call it a flip game. So Does that make sense? Content flip. That would just be using a different word, but if I could call it a flip survival game, or a survival game flip. Now, I think if I went down that route, I would just be making my own jargon, and it would not be helpful. Speaking of not being helpful, here we have them playing that same strategy that we've seen over and over again lately, where they're playing that roach and just don't have a solution to it. Right, Merlin strikes. This guy has a ward. Spell boost.
This is your fate.
And then this.
I'll be a talisman master someday.
I am Solomon, the first mage.
Seal Solomon. Puts the highest cost play points from your deck. So this, at the moment, would give me a 0 cost creature, and it needs to be spell boosted a lot more.
I'll lay a flower in your memory. A revelation.
And that's all I can do. Gametsu has an article. The turn-based tactical RPG Iconfell launches October 8th for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Iconfell is not something I've seen before. And looks like a kind of cartoon RPG game.
Queen one day.
Not sure if there's a real game here, because it looks a little too low res for me. I'm just not sure I'd be willing to play that. Let's see. I guess I can put it on the fall list and we'll see. But yeah. And then last game we have is tag sexual content, and they are using penguins and blurs to hide all the nudity, and it's called Kawaii Girl 2. That's spelled Kawaii, which it just means cute girl in Japanese. And it seems like it is half a top-down twin-stick shooter from the best I can guess, and half a adult game that just shows you nudity. The characters are not animated very well, and one of the characters through the blur looks like they might be fairly young looking. Although I guess if they're naked, then they're not wearing a school outfit, therefore they don't violate Steam's school outfit. Ballsy. This game is $1.75 and it supports English and a bunch of other languages. No audio though, and it's not one that needs to be talked about or shown, certainly, but that is an adult game, so at least on Friday, if that was a Friday launch, there were adult games being allowed. And then that brings me to the Humble Bundle store, because that was the last game. And looking at the Humble Bundle store, I'm not seeing any games listed. Maybe in about 24 hours we'll get a new game listing, because the Head Up game bundle is about to end. And then that would bring me back to the Twitter feed, which we probably haven't been streaming more than about 3 hours at most, so I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a bunch of new news on Mondays. Mondays have just become incredibly slow. And for this, all I need to do is I'm just gonna have to play 2 more Swordcraft or Runecraft cards games, which I'm not even sure which one I would play. Fall Guys Battle of the Brands winner donates 1 million to charity. Yeah, you're gonna regret that later, almost certainly. Let's see, yeah. Runecraft, I can just play Runecraft for 2 games here and finish that chapter. Aerosoft has 2+ years of Flight Simulator 2020 add-ons planned. If that matters. Microsoft Flight Simulator in particular feels like a great example of something that is going to be overhyped by the mainstream video game media and then not really touched by the average gamer at all. There will, of course, be a small niche fandom that will play that, but I don't think it's anywhere as big as it's made out to be. TechRaptor has an article I'm looking at. Pokemon Go Mega September is all about awesome raids. Okay. Let's see. Susan Wojcicki is shouting out a YouTuber who's documenting life as a stay-at-home dad. That's a dangerous thing to shout out, considering how many YouTubers that have had their kids involved ended up being monsters. And not just YouTubers too, like almost every even cable show that has shown off families that involve the kids have turned out to be monsters and abusive to the kids. Castle Crashers is now at its 10th anniversary. Yeah, that's another game that I think is a little too overhyped for what it is and could have easily been forgotten. Apparently NIS America has plenty of upcoming titles to get excited about at pretty soon. I guess there was no announcement in that other than just to say stay hyped, an announcement is coming. Yeah, I'm still just scrolling down my Twitter feed. Cardcaptor Sakura returns with a Cardcaptor Sakura Series Standard Edition DVD 12 discs. This edition compiles Volume 1, 2, and 3 into a single charming collection. This is from NIS America, which is both apparently the publisher of DVDs and video games. Probably is the only way you could get it. Get the complete series, but I think this is the complete series in the sense of all of the first TV series, not the Japanese clear cards part or the movie. Let's see, we do need to talk about this, although I think this may very well just be a repeated bit of news from Gamma Sutra, and nothing new may have happened. I'm trying to win a free computer, but odds are so extremely low that you can't live on that. So the big irony here would be I get something like a $2,000 or more expensive free gaming computer handed to me, and then right after I have already bought all the components for another computer. Although, of all the people for something like that to happen, that wouldn't be very little of a problem to me. I can easily put an extra computer to use, or give it away, or sell it. Yeah, Gamma Sutra just retweeted an old article here. This is from the 28th. Apple has terminated the Epic Games App Store account. There's been no new bit of news here. I imagine they're going to just try and fight this through the courts, and it'll just be a long battle. And with that, there's well, apparently there's a Jason Schreier article here against Ubisoft, which Jason Schreier is definitely doing a great job of making Ubisoft look terrible as a reporter, and I think he probably has a decent reason to. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a vendetta. Yesterday, Ubisoft staff expressed outrage on an internal message board. In one message seen below by Bloomberg Nerds, the game director apologized and said they'll remove the video. The video appears to link Black Lives Matter to terrorism, which, in all honesty, I think, taking from the fact that I think terrorism kind of works and is often the solution that's needed, I think Black Lives Matter probably should embrace a little bit of that, because it's been 100 years of peaceful protest and not enough has changed. But also I would say maybe terrorism is the wrong word, because I would suggest targeted strikes and targeted voting campaigns. The occasional political assassination of some really terrible people around the world and domestic probably could do a lot of good for a lot of people. But I'm not inciting anyone to do that. I'm just saying, from a historical perspective, if somebody had taken out Hitler or somebody like that and taken out all his chief of staffs and people who would have just replaced Hitler, if you'd done some surgical strikes like that and gotten rid of the power base of the Nazi party, yeah, you probably would have saved a lot of lives. Anyways, no, that's getting way too political. Yeah, we've only been streaming 2 hours and 27 minutes, and I think that is perfectly good. We accomplished pretty much everything that needs to be done, and the news was short, so that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.